Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Insights. Today, we're diving into the life of John D. Rockefeller, one of the most famous and wealthy businessmen in American history. Born in 1839 to a modest family, Rockefeller started from almost nothing. But through discipline, hard work, and smart strategies, he built the Standard Oil Company and became the richest man of his time. In this video, you will not only explore the harsh realities of the 19th century American oil market, but you will also get a great chance to improve your listening skills and vocabulary. Now, let's get started. Part 1. Early Life and a Dream, 1839 to 1863. John Davison Rockefeller was a very famous and rich American businessman. Rockefeller did not begin life with wealth. Born in 1839 in Richford, New York, he came from a family of modest means. His father, William Rockefeller, worked as a traveling salesman, often selling poor-quality goods and failing to be a responsible parent. William was a strange man who was often away from home for long periods. He sometimes told people he was a botanic physician and sold fake medicines to make money. Botanic physician means a doctor who uses plants to heal people. He was not a good role model for John, and he did not give much money to his family. This experience taught John the importance of stability and the need to be self-reliant. John's mother, Eliza, was the opposite. She was a very religious and honest woman. She taught John to work hard, to be honest, and to save money. She was the most important person in his young life, and her lessons were very important for his future success. When Rockefeller was only 7 years old, he began his first small business by raising turkeys and selling them to neighbors. Turkey means a large bird. He also dug up potatoes from the family garden to earn extra money. As a teenager, he worked on a farm and always set aside a little from each payment. Very disciplined, Rockefeller kept a small notebook where he recorded earnings and expenses, convinced that even the smallest amount could grow into something big if managed with care. For him, every penny was important. He would lend money to his neighbors and even to his own father, always writing down the exact amount and charging a small interest. He was a businessman, even before he was an adult. At 16, Rockefeller got his first real job as an assistant bookkeeper in Cleveland, Ohio. This position was very important, teaching him how businesses operated and the basics of numbers, profit, and loss. He worked long hours from early morning until late at night and approached his work with dedication, always seeking to improve. Quiet but ambitious, he aimed to become a successful businessman and to build something significant. This job gave him a deeper understanding of the business world, showing him how to manage money and how to run a company. In 1859, a new kind of oil was discovered in Pennsylvania. This oil was called crude oil and people could use it to make kerosene, which was used for lamps to light up homes and cities. Many people saw this as a big opportunity. Young John D. Rockefeller, who was now 24 years old, also saw this. Rockefeller chose to leave his job and begin his own business. To do this, he used the small amount of money he had saved and borrowed some more from his father. This was the start of his amazing journey into the oil business. He was not interested in the risky business of drilling for oil. Instead, he saw a bigger opportunity in refining the oil and making it a useful product. Part 2. The Birth of Standard Oil, 1863 to 1870. After he left his job, John D. Rockefeller and a partner, Maris B. Clark, started a new company. They bought and sold goods like grain and meat. They were very successful, but Rockefeller's main focus was the oil business. He saw that many people were drilling for oil, but the process of turning crude oil into useful kerosene was very messy and inefficient. There were many small refineries, and they wasted a lot of oil and money. Refinery is a factory where something like oil or sugar is made clean and pure. The industry was chaotic, with many small players competing strongly and often going bankrupt. Rockefeller believed that order and control were necessary for the oil business to truly succeed. In 1863, Rockefeller and his new partners built their first oil refinery, which he named the Flat Oil Works. The refinery stood out because of its focus on efficiency and saving costs. Every part of the crude oil was used. Even leftovers were sold for other products, such as grease for machines. Profit came from everything, including what others might have considered waste. While other refineries simply threw away the byproducts, Rockefeller saw an opportunity. He sold the gasoline, which was a dangerous and unwanted waste product at the time, and used the heavy asphalt residue to pave roads. His attention to detail was a key factor in his early success. Rockefeller negotiated directly with the railroad companies to get lower prices for transporting oil. He did this by promising them a very large amount of oil to transport. Thanks to the size of his business, he could secure much better rates than smaller competitors. This gave him a huge advantage. He could sell his kerosene for a lower price than his competitors and still make a lot of money. The other companies could not compete with him. They had to pay a higher price to transport their oil, which meant they could not sell their product for a low price like Rockefeller could. This was the beginning of his strategy to dominate the market. In 1870, John D. Rockefeller and his partners created a new company. This company was called Standard Oil Company. The name Standard was important. It meant that their products were always the same, with a high quality and a low price. At first, Standard Oil was one of many oil companies, but Rockefeller had a plan. He wanted to buy all the other oil companies and control the entire industry. Rockefeller believed that competition hurt business and aimed to create a monopoly where a single company controlled everything. He encouraged other owners to sell their companies to him, offering stock in his new company, which held significant value. He would tell them, "You can either join me or go out of business." Many people agreed because they knew they could not compete with him. Those who did not agree often went out of business. By 1872, in an event called the Cleveland Massacre, Standard Oil had bought almost all the refineries in Cleveland, a major oil center. This was just the beginning. Part 3. The Rise of a Monopoly, 1870 to 1890. In the 1870s and 1880s, John D. Rockefeller continued his plan. Rockefeller purchased company after company, showing great skill in strategy. His control went beyond refineries to include pipelines, railroad tank cars, and even oil wells. Over time, Standard Oil grew into an incredibly large and powerful company. He created a new business structure called a trust. A trust was a legal agreement where the owners of many different companies gave their control to a single board of directors. This allowed Rockefeller to control a huge number of companies without officially owning all of them. This was a very clever way to avoid the anti-monopoly laws of the time. By the late 1880s, Standard Oil controlled more than 90% of the oil refining and transportation in the United States. It was a giant. Rockefeller excelled at his work, making the oil business highly efficient. The price of kerosene went down, and more people could afford to light their homes. This helped a lot of ordinary people. He was also a good manager. He hired the best people and rewarded them well. He was a very disciplined and focused leader who demanded perfection from his employees and himself. However, many people were not happy with Rockefeller's power. They called him a robber baron. This term was used for businessmen who became rich by using bad business tactics and creating monopolies. They said that Rockefeller destroyed competition and hurt small business owners. Newspaper writers like Ida Tarbell wrote articles that criticized him and his company. Her famous book, The History of the Standard Oil Company, accused him of using unfair and illegal methods to build his empire. She spoke for the small business owners who felt they had been crushed by Rockefeller's ruthless methods. The public also became worried about the power of large corporations. People were afraid that these huge companies had too much control over the economy and the government. This period, known as the Gilded Age, was a time of both great wealth for a few and great poverty for many. Many Americans believed that the power of trusts like Standard Oil was dangerous to the American ideal of a free and fair market. These concerns led to new laws. In 1890, the U.S. government passed the Sherman Antitrust Act. This law was designed to stop monopolies and promote fair competition. Standard Oil was the main target of this new law. Rockefeller believed his work improved the oil business. He considered a monopoly beneficial because it made operations more efficient and offered cheaper products. He often said, his business brought order to a chaotic industry, but the government and the public saw it differently. The fight between the government and Standard Oil would last for many years. Part 4. The End of an Empire, 1890 to 1911. The government's legal battle against Standard Oil was very long and complicated. It began in the late 1890s with lawsuits filed in several states. The U.S. government used the new Sherman Antitrust Act to try to break up the company. They argued that Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly that was hurting the American economy by controlling prices and eliminating competition. The company and its lawyers fought back, arguing that they were simply being more efficient and providing a better product at a lower price. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States. In 1911, the Supreme Court made a very important decision. It ruled that Standard Oil was an unreasonable monopoly, and it had to be broken up. The court ordered that Standard Oil be divided into 34 separate independent companies. This was a huge defeat for Rockefeller. His giant company was gone. The court's decision was a major victory for the government and for those who had been fighting against the power of big business. It showed that the government had the power to regulate large companies and protect consumers. But for John D. Rockefeller, this was not a complete loss. He had kept stock in all 34 new companies. The value of these new companies rose very quickly. The new companies were very successful. Some of them are still very famous today, like Exxon, from Standard Oil of New Jersey, Mobil, from Standard Oil of New York, Chevron, from Standard Oil of California, and Amoco, from Standard Oil of Indiana. Owning a share in all these businesses made him even wealthier than before, eventually becoming the richest man in the world. He was so rich that he had to hire a team of people just to manage his fortune. The breakup of Standard Oil showed a change in American business. It showed that the government had the power to control big companies and protect competition. It was the end of Rockefeller's monopoly, but it was not the end of his wealth. In fact, he now had more wealth than he could have ever imagined. After the breakup, Rockefeller was no longer focused on business. He was getting older, and his focus shifted to something new, giving his money away. Part 5. A New Mission, Philanthropy, 1890s to 1937. John D. Rockefeller was a very private person. But as he grew older, he became more public about a new mission: philanthropy, which means giving money to help people and society. Many had criticized his business practices, and he wanted to improve his reputation while using his wealth for good. He was among the first to create large organizations dedicated to this purpose. He began his philanthropic work with the help of his son, John D. Rockefeller, Jr., and his trusted advisor, Frederick T. Gates. They believed that giving money away should be a professional business, not just a random act of kindness. Rockefeller gave a lot of money, not to random people, but to big plans that could fix important problems. In 1913, he established the Rockefeller Foundation, a professional organization staffed with experts who studied issues and decided where the money could have the greatest impact. He believed that this was the most efficient way to use his money to create long-term change. The foundation was given a large amount of money, more than $180 million, to be used for the good of all people. The Rockefeller Foundation had a huge impact on the world. It spent money on medical research, public health, and education. It helped to discover a vaccine for yellow fever and helped to build hospitals and medical schools all over the world. It also gave money to universities, including the University of Chicago, which he founded in 1890. He believed that education was very important for the future of society. One of the foundation's most famous projects was a campaign to eliminate hookworm, a serious disease that was common in the southern United States. They succeeded in reducing the disease greatly by providing medicine and educating people on hygiene. A deeply religious man, Rockefeller donated generously to churches. He also established the General Education Board to support schools in the southern United States, focusing especially on education for African American students. His donations helped to build many schools and libraries in poor communities. He was a pioneer in what is now called strategic philanthropy, a planned approach to giving that aims to solve problems on a large scale. Rockefeller became a hero to many because of his philanthropy shedding the image of the robber baron. He used his wealth to benefit humanity and lived a long life, reaching 97. He was a man who worked hard, saved money, and then gave it away to change the world. Part 6: Legacy and Lasting Impact. Rockefeller is remembered as both a brilliant businessman and a controversial figure. On one hand, his business practices were ruthless, allowing him to crush competitors and build a powerful monopoly. He was a central figure in the Gilded Age, a time of both great economic growth and extreme inequality. His methods, which included secret deals and controlling the entire supply chain, were widely criticized as being unfair and against the spirit of a free market. On the other hand, he was a visionary who made the oil industry efficient and helped to lower the price of a very important product. Before him, the oil industry was disorganized and wasteful. He brought order and scale, which benefited many consumers. His innovations in logistics and management are still studied in business schools today. The breaking up of Standard Oil also set an important legal precedent, showing that the U.S. government had the power to regulate large companies to prevent monopolies. His greatest legacy is probably his philanthropy. He gave away more than $500 million, which would be billions of dollars today. His Rockefeller Foundation is still a very important organization in the world today. It continues to work on global health and education. The model he created, with a large professional foundation, is still used by rich people today, like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. His approach to philanthropy moved charity away from simple handouts to a more structured and problem-solving method. Rockefeller transformed the American economy with his business strategies, and his generosity also had a lasting impact on the world of charity and philanthropy. His story reminds us that success can be measured in different ways, not just by how much money you make, but also by what you do with it. His journey from a poor boy to the world's richest man and one of its greatest philanthropists is a truly remarkable story.